Michigan had a problem, I suppose you could say, at offensive coordinator. There's a reason, I'm sure, why they were in the market for a new offensive coordinator. Looks like they got themselves one, okay? Chip Lindsey, former offensive coordinator at North Carolina, he's going to be the new play caller in Ann Arbor. So what does this mean? What do we think it means for Bryce Underwood and going forward? Also, just what can you expect if you're a Michigan fan? We'll talk about it right now. First things first, if you're watching in a live capacity, thank you. Hit the subscribe button under your picture. If you're watching as a one-off video, also thank you. If you're a Michigan fan finding this video, finding this channel for the first time, it's college football, nothing but college football. So make sure you're locked in, make sure you're subscribed. Going back to what I said, Chip Lindsey, this to me screams Bryce Underwood hire. Because what I forget if I said it on a video, if I tweeted it out into the Twitterverse a few different times, you were never going to have Bryce Underwood be your quarterback. Bryce Underwood, for those of y'all that are catching up here, the number one prospect in the class of 2025, plays quarterback for you, flipped from LSU. Special player. You were never going to have him under center for you with a fullback. And I love Max Bredesen. I love fullbacks. I don't think you were going to have Bryce Underwood under center in the power I and say, let's go ahead and run 34 whams 17 times a game and have that be our attack here. It wasn't going to be the case. You spread it out. You open it up. You let Bryce Underwood be special. You go get him some weapons, and you play a high-octane, fun style of offense. Not to say that the skull bashing that Michigan has done the last couple of years under Sharon Moore and under Jim Harbaugh hasn't been fun football. But you're not maximizing the Ferrari of a quarterback you have if that's your approach. I mean, Bryce Underwood is a tremendous passer, also a freak show athlete. So there's that part of this. Going back to Chip Lindsey, he has a quarterback pedigree, coaching guys like Jarrett Stidham when he was at Auburn, coaching Drake May, who was a top 3 pick in last year's draft. There's some of that quarterback language he speaks, in addition to keeping, I believe, what Michigan ultimately still wants to be and will always want to be, regardless of who's at quarterback, regardless of who's the head coach. They'll want to be tough. They'll want to be tough. Now, at North Carolina a year ago, even with the spread concepts and what Chip Lindsey did, they averaged 176 yards on the ground. That's punch you in the face football. That's Michigan football. So that's still going to be there. Like, we're kidding ourselves if we think the secret ingredient that has allowed Michigan to beat Ohio State now, the last 4 years, is somehow going to change with a new quarterback and a new coordinator. They're going to do everything in their power to bottle that up and keep that there. Because what we said after Michigan beat Ohio State was like it was never a matter of talent for Michigan in that game over Ohio State. It was just sheer grit, toughness, blue collar, some would say. Like the things that you can't coach, the things that have nothing to do with how many stars are next to your name. Now, granted, Michigan is bringing in the quarterback with 5 stars next to his name. But if you keep that 5-star talent level at quarterback, and then you add in the toughness element, that's going to be massive. And that's going to be, I think, ultimately very, very lethal for the rest of college football. Going back to how we opened this whole show, if you're watching live, we said styles make fights. It has never been more important to be well-rounded in the sport of college football. Michigan won the national title last year, I believe, because of the ability to make you pay downfield with J.J. McCarthy and some of those weapons on the outside. Going forward with Bryce Underwood, they'll have the ability to be tough and also be able to stretch the field vertically with Chip Lindsey as the OC and his quarterback pedigree. So this is massive for Michigan on a number of fronts. Let's take a look at what it means, though, like in the here and now. The portal is popping. The portal is showing no mercy. It's taking, it's giving, it's everything in between. Now, if you're Michigan, you can go market to skill players, go market to top wide receiver talent and say, hey, listen, we're going to have a quarterback in the future. We got a fun, open offense we're going to play in here. Come be a part of it. Here's what you can expect. It's one thing to have a projection and a vision and a promise and all that. That's all well and good, and I think you have success doing that if you're truthful and authentic and honest, and I think that's who Sharon Moore ultimately is. But to be able to pull up the tape at North Carolina and say, here's where we see you, here's what you're going to be for us, are you in? At that point, you've done all you can do. And at that point, I think that the results on the field, what Chip Lindsey has done at North Carolina and throughout his career, should speak volumes and should speak a lot louder than any potential promise or vision, if you will. So Michigan has a new direction. I don't know if they're rebranding so much as revamping with what they are on offense, and I cannot wait to see Bryce Underwood under center for the Wolverines, whether it's next year or whether it's in 2 years, depending on what they do in the portal here. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. So the Michigan offense has been revamped. Chip Lindsey, your new play caller in Ann Arbor, keeping that same nasty toughness that I think Sharon Moore will ultimately keep in place out there for the Wolverines.